I have a similar question here to what yours was for the West. Who are going to be the 6 playoff teams in the Eastern Conference? Like the 6 non-play-in playoff teams in the East? Because as just we record this right now, only 5 games separate 13th place in the 5.5, 13th place in the East from first place in the East. And so there's some level of egregiousness there where it's no, the 8 and 11 Pacers are not going to catch the top seeded Brooklyn Nets. Just at the same time, there might be 2 to 3 formalities in that top 6 of the East. Who are you going to pencil in as the top 6? And you don't even have to give me the order, but who are going to be your top 6 in the East?
So my top 4 I feel pretty good about, which are Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philly, and Miami. I probably feel the least good about Philly just because, I mean, although the offense somehow stays incredible with Embiid out, I don't understand how it's happening. Tyrese Maxey is a superhero. And then my 5th in that group is the Bulls. And that will probably come as a surprise to anybody that heard us talk about the Bulls at any point over the offseason or for the last 2 years. But they feel pretty legit. The 6th team is really hard. And for me, I look at my candidates are Atlanta and New York and Boston, that's a lot of shade at the Wizards. But I'm going to need a little longer. I'm going to need a little more before I believe that that's real. So against my better judgment, and maybe because we spent a lot of time the last time we talked saying the Hawks were maybe the second best team in the conference, I'm going to stick to that. And I'm going to say the Hawks are going to be a top 6 team in the East. But that defense has to get a lot better for that to happen, even though I think they've won 4 or 5 in a row. So that's my top 6. Do you have anybody different?
I have 5 that I've penciled in. Brooklyn, Miami, Atlanta is still one of mine. Milwaukee. And then I have Chicago because maybe I'm just doing too much of the walk back since I was so critical of them over the offseason. But they're, at least when you look at defensively, they are exhaustive when you look at how they're guarding the perimeter. And so just between Caruso and Ball, Javonte Green being there, people have mentioned this ad nauseum, but I'm pretty sure Derrick Jones Jr. has finished more plays as the role man this season than he has in his entire career combined in the previous seasons. I've not checked that, but so they've just found a way to win in spite of the Patrick Williams injury, in spite of Kobe White not making his season debut until forever, in spite of Nikola Vucevic entering league's health and safety protocols and also not hitting shots when he's playing. And I do, as many have pointed out, there's a chance that DeMar DeRozan regresses because when you look at what he's done offensively, can this hold for the entire season? We've seen other players' offensive efficiency go down with the new officiating. And I know his game was never conducive to a certain necessarily style of getting calls, but his efficiency has gone up. And so just at his age, the stage of his career, that seems like a red flag. At the same time, the Bulls have the ability to shoot better from 3. And then if Vooch, if he's going to be healthy and shoot better, that's another level that they can get to. There's still moves that they can make at the trade deadline. Like maybe you spice up your center rotation a little bit. Can you pick up a wing at all? I don't know. I'm just going to put my faith in them. The 6th team is so hard. It's between the Knicks, Boston, and Washington for me. I don't think Philly's going to get there. They're cute. They're quaint. They've just had so many different, and a lot of it's, the players in the league's health and safety protocols. How many games is Joel Embiid going to play in? Can we count on Seth Curry to be in the most improved player conversation? Maxey feels he's been so good, but can he maintain this for the whole level of the season? I think, and maybe this is me getting drunk on the early season returns, I think I'm putting Washington in there. Their defensive progression feels real, and they've done it. Their success overall this season, they've done it without Rui Hachimura or Thomas Bryant. And then Davis Bertans was both terrible and is currently not playing. I think he has an ankle injury.
Well, and Beal was not good for
their offense
3 weeks.
Frighteningly average. They should be better than average.
No, and I think
we didn't. Neither of us mentioned the Hornets, by the way, who are currently in the top 6.
Their defense sucks. Their defense is not close to good enough. They're one of my favorite teams to watch this year. I think I probably watched as much of them as almost any non-Golden State team. But they just if they are not in the bottom 10 defensively at the end of the year, I'll be very surprised. They just don't have the personnel. That's why I don't have them in there. Yeah, they're sitting 5th right now.
It just seems so stupid to not pick the Knicks feels weird. They eventually have to, I know they beat the Lakers after almost blowing a huge lead. They have to do something about the starting lineup. Their offense is well above average this year, but it just still feels like they're not great on that end. And they have sacrificed on the defensive end in part because opponents are hitting a higher clip of their threes. Something just feels off in New York. I don't think they're bad. I'm not dumping all over them. I'm not saying they should blow it up, although maybe I'm like 10 days away from doing that as the Knicks fan in me freaks out over every single loss. But something feels off there. Ditto with Boston. Maybe now that Jaylen Brown is back, they'll settle into a groove. Their defense, even though I feel like they switched too much, has been great this season. Marcus Smart is he's a beast. It'd be nice if he hit more shots, of course. And then even I feel weird. They've been bad and disappointing even when you cake in the injuries. But Indiana has a lot of quality players on the roster. And so it's just hashing out the top 6. Even if I told you to hash out the top 10 where you only had to exclude 2 or 3 of these teams, it still just gets if it's Atlanta and Indiana, or let's say it's Cleveland and Indiana, maybe you feel good about leaving those 2 on the outskirts of that conversation. But do you really?
Yeah, that's the thing. So just looking at it now, as you were talking, I was thinking there's I like Atlanta and Toronto and Indy, and they're all outside the top. They're all out of the play-in right now. So as you assume, certainly Atlanta has to get back into that top 10, top 6, I think, for both of us. But who's getting kicked out? And I think Charlotte probably is one of the most likely candidates. Cleveland. I love Cleveland, but Cleveland might be a for real 500 team.
It's just Sexton's out for the year. It feels like injuries are going to catch up with them. How well are they going to play during this stretch without Mobley? And even Markkanen's still out. I still don't necessarily have a ton of faith in the 3 big lineup, even if Allen and Mobley make a lot of sense. And the other thing is just, once Mobley comes back, is there a rookie wall here at all? Because that's a real thing. Elite rookies have tapered off in the past. Maybe there's not. But, man, they've been Garland has made strides.
Garland is really good.
Jetty Osman's hitting off the dribble threes. Ricky Rubio has been just great as a steadying hand, and he's even hit some difficult threes for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, eight of them in one game, I think, if I remember.
Against the Knicks, the 3-point defense that apparently keeps on giving. And they've also played a really tough schedule, which matters because eventually that will all even out as we get later into the year. But they've played among the harder schedules. So I don't want to write them out completely, but I do think eventually the injuries and just the youth will catch up with them a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. But the funny thing is, so if you think Indiana is going to get in there, and maybe Toronto and Atlanta, I keep looking at Washington as the team that's going to fall out. And maybe I need to watch them more. I don't know. I definitely am receptive to the idea of if you trade a negative player kind of in Russ, and you get back half of a rotation's worth of decent to above average NBA basketball players, your team gets better. And you've added it. I don't know. So I just need to be convinced by the Wizards. But yeah, the East is honestly more compelling, I think, for all of these. We don't know who the best 4, who the best 6, who the best 10 teams